hope that this custom coded Excel sheet we created brings a ton of value to whatever you're doing. I know it's saved us a ton of time, and you can literally create hundreds and thousands of ad titles, unique ad titles, in literally minutes, if that. Sometimes we do it in seconds. So I mean, you can literally share these with your team. You can use it for mass marketing, and really just it's going to be a huge time saver. So I hope it brings the same value to you that we've experienced. So I guess the first thing we have to do, if you haven't done so already, is click the download button to download this file. This is going to be a Microsoft 2007 Excel workbook, and you're going to get a dialog or a save box. It looks something like this. Go ahead and save it to your desktop or wherever you'd like. And once it's saved to your computer, double click on the file and you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, it doesn't matter what version of Excel you're using. There's two tabs on this sheet that we're going to work with. One of them is called Title Data. This is where we're going to actually enter in the information that Excel is going to use to create our unique titles. The second one is called Title List. Actually, it's the first one, called Title List. This is where all the unique titles are going to appear. So let's go ahead and click over to Title Data, the Title Data tab. And this is how this works. This is going to break up we need to break up a basic sentence or a basic title into 4 different sections. And we can create variations for those sections if we want. Now, I guess it's important to know that this is not an Excel function. This is a custom code that we created. I'll show you the code right here. And really this code is what makes the magic happen. And we'll go over this. I'll show you how to access this and what you need to change based on whatever you need here in a few minutes. So let's go ahead and give you an example of how this works, and you can test this out and try it. First thing we're going to do is come up with a title. So I put something like this. Now generally we work in the home-based business arena where we're looking for people to join a home-based business and become distributors or affiliates for whatever we're doing. So when we post like on Craigslist, we'll kind of position our home-based opportunity as a job or similar to a job, right? So we'll do something like this: looking for motivated part-time at-home mothers. Or something even better, looking for motivated, we'll do mothers for quick cash. Now what we have to do is take your base title, right, whatever title you want to create variations for, and just cut it up into 4 different sections. So what I'll do is I'll cut up this. I'll do looking for, and then I'll take motivated as my second part, mothers as my third part, and then for quick cash as my 4th part. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because the word motivated, it's easy to come up with variations of that. Mothers, I can change it mothers and go to professionals or fathers or sales pros, whatever I want. Looking for is also easy to come up with a variation. So you want to kind of segment it in sections that are easy to come up with variations for, if that makes sense. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do looking for, motivated mothers for quick cash. So now what we're going to do is we're going to enter in 2 different variations, right? So instead of looking for, I'm going to put in a word that means the same thing. So I'll put seeking and I'll put need. And if instead of motivated, I'll put focused and energetic. And then we'll go for mothers. I can just put a variation of moms, at home moms. And instead of quick cash, I can put for daily commission, for immediate opening. And what we're doing is we're just creating, it means the same thing. We're just creating a different word. That way the title is unique. What this Excel sheet is going to do when I push this code here is it's going to take the first sentence and combine that into one title. Then it's going to take the first section, and it's going to take the second section, then it'll take the top 2 again. Then it's going to take the first section with the third section, then the top 2. Then it'll take the top 1, the top 2, and then it'll drop down to C2. And then it'll take the D1, right? Then, so I don't want to make this too complicated, but what it does is it takes every single possible combination without creating a duplicate title. Now, the way you launch this, if you click on the title list, nothing's there yet. So the way you launch the macro is you can do a shortcut. You can do Control L, and once you push Control L, you can come back here to the title list, and here you'll see we have 81 different variations just with that little data we put in. You could even be on this tab and just push Control L. It'll do the same thing. If you want the actual function to run this macro, because this is a macro function, what you do is you can, if you're using 2003 or 2003, you're going to go to the Tools menu and you're going to select macro, play macro. If you're using 2007 or 2010 version of Excel, you're going to click on View. Far right hand side under Macros, you're going to click View Macros. And this macro is called Create Titles. And you're just going to click Run, and that'll do the same thing. So the shortcut for that is just Control L. Hold down Control, push the letter L, and that'll run the macro for you. And that's kind of how this works. Now, the one thing you need to know is you do have to access the code every once in a while. So to access the code, you either push Alt F11 and double click on this file here. It's going to be under the module folder, and it'll say module 1. Double click on that and that'll bring up the code. If this is missing here, then you can, let's say this whole thing is missing, you can go to the View menu and you can click on Object Browser. Oops, no, I'm sorry. You go on the View menu and click on Project Explorer, and that'll bring up the window you need, right? You can also see there's a shortcut here. It's Control R. Then you can just double click on this and it'll bring up this window for you. Alternatively, if you're using 2003, 2007, you can just right click and select View Code. That'll bring up this window, and then you just double click on the module 1. That'll bring up the code here. So the reason you need to access this code is because you notice everything says 3. And what we did is it's by default, it has 3 different variations. So it acknowledges that there's 3 sentences or 3 lines of data that need to be mixed up. If you want to add more than 3 variations, and let's say you want to add, seeking immediate, and you want to add look, we need, and you want to add more different variations, you're going to need to extend the code. So let me add here a couple here. So we'll go outgoing. Here we'll put dads, sales pros for fast money, immediate income. So let's say we want to have 5 different sentences, right? So if I just leave the code the way it is and I do Control L, I'm still only going to get 81 different titles because the code is only taking the first 3 lines of data. So what we're going to do is, again, you're either going to right click and view code, or the easier way is just push Alt, hold down Alt, F11. It'll bring this up. Again, if this doesn't come up, just double click on this module 1. And we're going to change 3 to be 5. Now each one of these 3s should all be the same. Change them all to 5. And now Excel is going to look at the first 5 rows of data on this title data tab. So now if I do Control L, well, let me go ahead and go over to the titles list. Control L. Now we have 625 different titles because Excel acknowledges that there are 5 rows of data. So let's say if you want to have, 10 rows of data. There we go. I'm just going to put X's for an example. Then what you'll do is you will Alt F11 and then just change each of these 5s to 10s. And now Excel is going to look at 10 rows of data to create as many unique titles as it can. So we go back to the titles list, Control L. Now we have 10,000 unique titles. And again, a lot of these are X's just because I put X's as examples. But if you put actual valid variations, you can literally, it'll probably take you, I know it'll take me about maybe 2 or 3 minutes to come up with 10 different variations for each section of this title. But literally in 3 minutes, you can have 10,000 unique titles. And if you're using automated software or you're having outsourced, I mean, people will never run out of titles. Depending on how fast they're posting, 10,000 should last quite a while. And that's how you use this file. So just a quick overview on the finer points here. First thing we need to do is come up with our basic headline. And this will be like the basic headline here. Cut it up into 4 different sections. And I generally cut up the sections that are easy to create variations for. For example, if you have looking for motivated, then you're going to have to come up with a variation that means the same as looking for motivated. And I guess it'll be just a little more challenging. So come up with your variations and select the number of variations that you want to create. Let's say if you want to create 6, then you're going to go into your code. A couple different ways to do that. I like to push Alt F11. You can just right click and view code if you want. And then just change each of these numbers here to the number of title variations or lines of data that you have. And there's no need to push save after you change the number. It's pretty immediate. So once you change that number, you can just close this window out if you like. You can come back here and let me go ahead and just put 6 rows of data. Come back to your titles list. And there we go. And now we have 1,296 different variations with 6 rows of data. So 1,296 unique titles. That's it. That's how you use this program.